I really don't know how to introduce this game other than just saying its title. Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. Immediately, absolute banger of a title.
And I know bangers. I know bangers.
The title just screams comedy. You know you're going to be in for a fun time with this game. And you will have plenty of laughs. But beneath that silly facade lies a surprisingly deep story. You start playing it and learning more about its lore, and you realize how sad, deep, and serious its story is. And the game hides these serious undertones under the most adorable characters I've ever seen. You play as a turnip, for goodness sake. The game starts with a tax bill, and the first thing you do is rip it apart committing tax evasion. So I become Mayor Onion's personal assistant instead of going to jail, and I just need to perform tasks for him. You play as Turnip Boy in a world full of other fruits and vegetables. Immediately you can sense the humor in this game as the jokes just start flooding in. A lot of the jokes revolve around internet memes and cultures. So if you're never online, and how are you watching this video? But you also wouldn't understand any of the references, like Cran speaking the Ulu language, the Navy SEAL copy pasta, or the general wording that the game decides to use.
Why?
Luckily, there are a lot more actual jokes in the game. Turnip Boy never says any words, he just uses punctuation to express how he is feeling, and people just pretend that's normal. Old Man Lemon cherishes his bucket as it's the last thing he has to remind him of his wife. So I steal it from him. Strawberry is in love with Blueberry, so she writes a love note. And I rip it in front of her. Or another Blueberry complains that his roommate Snail hasn't been paying rent. So I kill the snail, and he freaks out because Jerry was unarmed. Every joke's punchline is a shock or unexpected punchline, and it's funny every single time. I need to continue the story, but I will try to highlight some jokes here and there. So the first task was to go to a barn and kill some pigs. But to do that, I needed to get a sword first. I met a carrot who was babysitting a baby carrot, but lost a baby. And I only bring this up because it's somehow important to the story. I make it to the barn and met Twitch streamer SlayQueen32, who says that access to the barn is for tier 3 subs only. So I gave her a sub sandwich. Get it? That's not the type of sub you thought she was talking about. You thought it was a Twitch. Grizzly, stop, don't do it, it's Grizzly! I get access to the barn and I can now explain the gameplay. It is an action-adventure game akin to a Legend of Zelda game, where you go to different dungeons and unlock an item that will allow you to solve a puzzle and defeat a boss at the very end. The game is very plain and unoriginal, but the game is not relying on its gameplay to wow and win the players over. It relies on its characters, story, and most importantly, its humor to do that. The controls are extremely simple and very basic, to the point that if you're playing this game on PC, you could just play with one hand, and with the other hand, you know what you could be doing? Yeah, that's right. Committing more tax evasion. In the barn, I learned how to grow plant bombs and get boom boots so that I can then kick said bombs. This dungeon is not that complicated, with easy puzzles and some beat workers scattered throughout, and I make it to the boss, a giant pig, who I just kick bombs at until he dies, and he turns into tiny pieces of bacon, which I found amusing. With fertilizer received and given to Mayor Onion, he sends me to go find a fork, and this brings me to the worst part about this game: the side quests. Not specifically the side quests themselves, but the fact that all of them are fetch quests, and the item that I need to get is always on the other side of the map. So remember when I mentioned a carrot babysitting a baby carrot, but lost the baby? We can use that as an example. So I need to travel all the way to the bottom of the map to find the baby in a trash can, and then I need to travel all the way to the top of the map to give back the baby and receive a reward, and then I need to travel all the way back to the bottom of the map so that I can continue the story. It is tedious having to walk around so much, and every side quest is like this. Can you give me a hammer? Can you fetch me some wood? Can you take this letter to my dad? And it's always on the other side of the map. It's not the worst thing in the world. Like, I didn't want to quit playing because of this, but it was annoying. Going back to the story, this house is full of rotten food, which is their version of zombies, and I destroy the fortifications that the survivors had. I met this pickle gang who says that I have mafia blood because I'm able to wield a weapon even without hands, and you know, I never really gave it that much thought. How am I able to wield my weapon? Could I be a descendant of the mafia? But it would make sense how I'm able to handle a weapon without using any hand. but I need to make it up to them for destroying the fortifications. This dungeon is a bit annoying. It's just go fetch something and... a draft letter? What's going on here? I bring all the items back to the freezer and he's gone MIA. His family might never see him again. The boss of this stage is a giant cat. I remember that this cat belonged to Cran Cran, who is a cat lady and only speaks in the Uwu language, which is annoying. So I reluctantly returned it to her, and the unspeakable happens.
Do you like my drawings?
Stop.
This is very important. Not only is this the only time Turnip Boy talks, but this will have a much deeper impact on the story later on. I return the fork to Mayor Onion, who then sends me to find some kind of goop. I have portals now, which make the puzzles a bit harder, which is great to finally see in this game. I figured out what the strange goop is. It's nuclear waste, and I'm beginning to notice something. There are stags and pigs, so life exists in this world. But what about humans? Are they real? And if they are, where are they? Earlier in the game, a person says thank the mushrooms, meaning they see mushrooms as gods. But it's not until you get a drawing of the mushroom that they praise do you realize what is happening. The game takes place on Earth with humans and all other living creatures, but due to a war happening, nuclear bombs had to be dropped. Naturally, all of the humans went into underground bunkers, but the radiation given off by the bombs give life to the vegetation. And the first thing they witness is this grand mushroom in the sky that has given them life. It is a brand new start to life. It is a brand new start to a new society. And they still invented taxes! But why? The story goes deeper. I get the nuclear waste and return it to Mayor Onion for his final task. I need to get a laser pointer from a bunker. A bunker with humans in it. I even fight one of them after they become mutated. I give the laser pointer to Mayor Onion, who doesn't give me my greenhouse back and just locks himself inside. Old Man Lemon then tells me the truth. I am the son of Don Turnipchino, who, with Mayor Onion and Old Man Lemon, used to run the mafia. After some disagreements, Mayor Onion separated from the group and formed a government, and worse, made taxes. The reason Mayor Onion wanted my greenhouse is because that's where their mafia base used to be located. Under the greenhouse is a base full of money, weapons, and a nuclear bomb. Boy, I'm sure glad I'm not that guy. I sneak up to Mayor Onion, who sends the IRS agents onto me. I defeat them, and then he combines everything I got for him to turn himself into a freak of nature. I defeat him, and as the sore loser he is, sets off the nuclear bombs in the basement to send the greenhouse into space, also radiating him into becoming a god. This final boss fight is fantastic, as I just need to dodge his attacks, which can be a challenge to do, while getting help from the IRS agents to take him down. A great challenging boss fight to end this game. This was a fantastic little game. For what the game is, it does a pretty good job. The graphics look great, the music is great, the gameplay is a bit dull. It's just like a basic Legend of Zelda formula, but the puzzles don't get good until late in the game. But the humor really does carry this game. It's a funny game, but the game is only 2 hours long. I'm not joking. This game is really short, and that's not even focusing on the main missions. No, that's with every side quest, and it's still 2 hours long. I don't know why or how, frankly, I talked for so long about a 2-hour game. But despite it being so short, it has an insane amount of lore. First, there was man. And to quote Mr. Mundy, as long as there are 2 people left on the planet, someone is going to want someone dead. A war broke out, and with time, a draft was issued. The war kept escalating, to the point of using nuclear weapons, and through the nuclear radiation, gave life to vegetation. The vegetables, although grateful to the giant mushroom that has given them life, were of course lost and confused. So they turned to their natural instinct of committing crime and invented the mafia. 2 main mafia groups will be created: the Pickle Gang and a gang run by the great Don Turnipchino. The great Don Turnipchino will have a son who inherits the greenhouse from his father. That son was Turnip Boy. But one day, Mayor Onion orchestrated the assassination of the Don. Mayor Onion would then break off from the mafia to invent government so that he can make more money and in the process invents taxes. And Turnip Boy, son of the great Don Turnipchino, with mafia blood coursing through his veins, does the only thing that the only thing that is right to do when someone tries to tax you and commits tax evasion. It's so inspirational. It makes me want to commit tax evasion. Oh, that's right, it's illegal.
Hey, what are you in for?
I committed tax evasion. And you?
I'm a Minecraft YouTuber.
What about you? What are you in for?
Oh, I robbed a bank.
Oh, that sounds so cool! 2 days after killing Mayor Onion, and 1 day after the civil war that happened as a result of the Mayor Onion's death, Diltini, the leader of the Pickle Gang and enemies of my father, the great Don Turnipchino, invites me to join him on a job to rob the biggest bank in the world. And so, forgetting about family traditions, I joined Diltini's Pickle Gang to rob a bank. The bank is owned by Stinky, and wow, is this gameplay different. The game is no longer action-adventure. It's just an action game with roguelite elements. The closest game I can compare this to is Hotline Miami, but much less violent. And also a lot less difficult. Also, Turnip Boy has a gun now, which he can control without ow, 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 ow. The gameplay is on a massive loop of going to the bank and robbing it as much as I can before the fuzz shows up. Shaking people down, mining at stones, stealing jewelry, breaking into safes, whatever you can do to get as much money as possible, and then return to the base. At the base, you can upgrade your weapons and yourself, like making your melee stronger or giving yourself more time before the fuzz shows up. Buy something on the dark web if necessary, and then go back to the bank, repeating the cycle. Do this for 4 hours, and you beat the game. I had nowhere else to put this in the video because it broke the flow of me talking about the gameplay cycle, but I mentioned roguelite elements in this game, and all it is are these elevators. The bank map will always be the same every time you return to the bank, but these elevators will be different rooms every time. You have a chance of it being an office space with safes in it, or an office space with a vault, or even more specialized rooms like the other side. So you might recognize the girl on the throne as Cran Cran. But how did she get to the other side? She didn't die in the last game. Actually, she did. You see, Turnip Boy is an eldritch horror, and if he speaks actual words to you,
Do you like my drawing?
Stop.
your soul is ripped out of your body over the course of 24 hours. I am being 100% serious. This is the actual lore. Okay, so I make it to the first boss, Yeehaw. A rootin' tootin' as American as apple pie, save a horse, ride a cowboy, guns a-blazing, freedom loving, conspiracy making, fad-inducing, is a party in the USA, corporate greed, capitalist season. I beat him. He was a fine boss, but I got a green key card that allows me to explore more of the bank. I found a veggie civilization in the bank because a lot of them didn't have a place to go because of the war going on. In case you forgot, a civil war happened. Their lives are just under constant stress. So I stress them out more by robbing them. I buy a cardboard box off the dark web for $8,000 and face the second boss, Candy Apple. Again, another fine boss, nothing too grand about him at all. At this point in the game, I started grinding until I got to max level on the guns and every steroid known to man. And let me tell you, the game gets a lot easier when you get the gun that can kill everything in one shot.
Oh, hey, Shiro.
Grizzly, you're alive! No! The next area is filled with radioactive goop and goblins? Nah, they're just humans that were LARPing before the bombs dropped. Some merged food folk are blocking my way, so naturally, I get the food folk separator off the dark web and make it to the third boss, Mecha Chad. He was one of the IRS agents that helped me out in the last game. I couldn't focus on his boss fight. This actually happened in the boss fight, and it's one of the best jokes I've seen in any video game. And I know you're focusing on me right now. The fourth area is a crypt, and I really stopped paying attention at this point as the gameplay loop was just getting really repetitive. But I fight a giant human burger thing named Uncle Rigsby. It's a boss fight for sure. This whole game, I was looking for the mysterious mother lode, and turns out, it was in the sewer. I confront Stinky, who tells me he was the one who killed my father. And as I find all of his old things, Stinky sneaks away. Now with the bank robbed, the only thing left to do is to take the whole bank. I get rockets and have to go through a boss rush to launch the bank into outer space, and stay with me here, Aliens show up because I caught their attention when I killed a god. Then Hatsune Miku starts singing, yes, the girl from Fortnite, and I need to shut down all the boosters that I just set up when Diltini sacrifices himself to stop the aliens and the game just ends. What kind of an ending was that? It's a good game. It's a unique sequel, but it's hard to say whether it was better or worse than the last game because of how different it is. On its own, Turnip Boy robs a bank is a good game. The graphics got a slight upgrade and I think it looks better. The music didn't stand out as much except for Hatsune Miku at the end there. The gameplay, while it is fun, is very repetitive even before it became the most powerful turnip in the universe. After the 50th trip to the bank, it got bland. There are still side quests that are still fetch quests with people all over an even bigger map now, so it's more annoying. Unlocking new areas was nice and kept the game fresh enough to keep me going, but I would eventually memorize their map and it got dull again. The shooting and the movement felt great, and it was funny to see the different types of weapons that the enemies would drop. Granted, it didn't matter what the enemies dropped once I got the atomizer, but until then it was great to pick up every new weapon I found to test it out. The developers probably understood that Tax Evasion had an underwhelming gameplay compared to jokes and story. So with Rob a Bank, they tried to balance it out, and I think they did. The game has a perfect balance of jokes, story, and gameplay. But the first game had so much lore and jokes that, compared to Tax Evasion, Rob's a Bank is just not as funny. The turnip games, I mean. I'm sure robbing a bank in real life is just as, if not funnier, than Tax Evasion. Both games are hilarious though, don't get me wrong. It's very much my type of humor, so some people might not find these games funny at all. But I did. The story of robbing a bank is kind of lackluster as it doesn't add much to the overall story. The last game did a fantastic job introducing the lore in small bits. First you learn about a draft, so some kind of war happened. Then you learn about a giant mushroom. Then that your father was part of the mafia. It was well presented. And I know Rob's a Bank is a sequel, so they can't really add much. But all they really added was that Turnip Boy is an eldritch horror. It's nice that Diltini was able to look past traditions and work with the son of the great Don Turnipchino, even sacrificing himself at the end. But it does not live up to the story told in Tax Evasion. Both of these games are amazing for what they are, and even though they are so short, you should give them a try. I just wonder what the next game title is going to be called.
Turnip Boy starts a cult.
No. Call to the Lamb already exists. Turnip Boy commits arson?
Turnip Boy smuggles heroin.
Turnip Boy money laundering.
Yo, Turnip Boy prostitution.
Turnip Boy gets a DUI.
Turnip Boy commits a homicide.
Hold on. That was the US government. They want us to stop promoting crime like it's a good thing.
Turnip Boy overthrows
the government!